Should you start your Heaven Official's Blessing journey with these webcomics? I have finished both books 1 and 2 for Heaven Official's Blessing in the newly coming out and releasing webcomic hardback versions of the original webcomic for this series. And I'm going to review these books for you. So far, only books 1 and book 2 are out. Book 3 is coming in November, I believe, and book 4 is coming in January. And then I think there is a book 5 coming in April. So this is just the start of these webcomic hardbacks. And like I said, these are the webcomics, the original webcomics. So we have beautiful interior art throughout. This style is slightly different than the animation that's been made for Heaven Official's Blessing, but I'm really excited. I have finished both of these books, so I want to do a quick little spoiler-free review so you can decide if you want to be buying these books. First things first, if you have never been exposed to Heaven Official's Blessing, if you have not watched the animation, if you have not read the books that are related to this series, these are the paperback styles, and this is the special edition, deluxe edition hardcover. If you have not read the novels or watched the animation, should you start your Heaven Official's Blessing journey with these webcomics? And the answer to that question is no, absolutely not. I strongly do not recommend it. And here's why. Is it because I think these are bad books? No. Is it because I don't think you should get these? No, I do think you should, but I think these should come later in your journey with the Heaven Official's Blessing story. My reasoning is these two books make up approximately like 3/5 of book 1 in Heaven Official's Blessing. And that also means like a little over half probably of season 1 of the animation for Heaven Official's Blessing. And since these are the only two that are out right now, that means you're getting a very, very small look into this world that's not going to be a full story, either a full book or a full season for the animation. So that's one reason why it doesn't make much sense to start this right now. But when all the books are out, I still don't recommend you start here. And the big reason why has to do with pacing and the ability to understand what's going on in the story. Now, when I got exposed to Heaven Official's Blessing, I first was watching the animation. I watched season 1 and season 2 and absolutely loved it. And then went online, was like, when's season 3 coming? And like everybody else was like so sad when I found out there's no season 3. I did get to watch the little short videos, and I'm really excited for the 4th one that's coming out. But at the same time, there's no season 3. This is what first sparked my interest in Heaven Official's Blessing. And when I found out there were novels about this story and that they continue and you can get so much more out of this story if you read the novels, I got really excited about all of the paperbacks. I'm in the process of buying the hardcovers because they're just so gorgeous. And so that's the progression. And what was interesting about that progression is the animation goes at a smooth pace, probably because it's the first way in which I viewed this story. So when I went and started reading the books, they felt a little bit slower, not in a bad way. It makes sense. The books have more context than the animation because there's just pages and pages of words. There's just more here. So of course it's going to feel a little bit slower. It wasn't bad. But after I finished book 1 for Heaven Official's Blessing, I picked up book 1 for the official Manhua, the official webcomics, just so I could compare and see how they go. Hopping into this book felt like jumping onto a bullet train and just bulldozing through the first half. It kind of felt like half of book 1 for Heaven Official's Blessing. It was a little jarring, a little whiplashy because it goes so quickly. And I was like, whoa, okay, trying to keep up here. And while reading this, because I'm already in love with this world, because I'm already in love with these characters, this was such a fun and enjoyable experience because of that. But if you've never been exposed to Heaven Official's Blessing, this is probably going to be confusing and feel rushed and feel, like I said, that whiplashy kind of overwhelming, wow, the speed of this is going really, really tremendously quickly, is my guess. Maybe you won't have that experience, but as I was going through this, I was like, I feel like if this is where I started, I would have gotten a little overwhelmed and I might have backed out, potentially. Because I do think, at least for this first book, the speed at which it progresses is it's just a little too quickly, and it doesn't delve in enough to explain the magic, if you will, of this world, the rules of this world, enough so that if you are brand new for Heaven Official's Blessing, this will make perfect sense. I don't think that is the case. I think this is really great for those who are in love with Heaven Official's Blessing and you want to have an experience with your characters in a new and slightly different way. And that works out publication-wise because these books are coming out after the novels have already come out. So I do think that this should come later in your Heaven Official's Blessing journey. I still really love this. I will say book 1 for the webcomics is very, very fast-paced. It can be a little overwhelming, kind of like Whiplash. Still really enjoyed it. But if book 1 is like a bullet train, book 2 is like a leisurely cart stroll through the woods. See what I did there? Only if you've read it. But this was so much smoother and relaxed. This was an incredible amount of yearning. I absolutely loved this. I do prefer this over book 1. Not that book 1 was bad, but I enjoyed a much more smooth ride that came in book 2. I really liked this one and I thought it was really sweet. It definitely covers less content from book 1, and we're still not done with book 1 or with season 1, I don't think. Maybe we are. I can't remember 100%, but I don't think we have completed season 1 or book. We definitely haven't completed book 1 in this retelling in the webcomic version, and I'm pretty sure have not finished season 1 in this book. Originally, I thought this first book for the webcomic was about half of the first novel, and this would be the second half. No. I would now change that to this is about 2/5, and this is about 1/5. We still have 2/5 of the rest of this story that needs to be told. So I'm really curious if that's going to be in the third book that's coming out in November for the webcomic, or if that's going to extend across the third and fourth books in the webcomic. I'm not sure. We'll see. The other thing that I really like about the different ways in which I'm being exposed to this story is I learn different things that I didn't pick up in previous mediums of experiencing this story. So for example, for this story, I'm going to give an example from this book. It's not going to be a spoiler. This page spread right here is exposing us to a different character than our main character in this book, and we don't get that kind of exposure in the novel. But it was like a cool, refreshing moment to get a slight peek into the world of a different character. Very, very brief. It's very, very subtle, but it was like a cool moment where I was like, ooh, I did not have that before. Now, this is partially in a reflection that this story, which is based off of the novel, the webcomic does do some slightly like alterations or changes to the story. Not big, not at all. But for example, at the very beginning of this book, once you get past the prologue, one of the very first things that our main character experiences is he goes and he sees a giant broken bell. That broken bell scene in the animation and in the novel is something that's described to our main character as something that has happened. It's not something that he first goes and sees to learn about, if that makes sense. So that's a way that the comic, the web comic, the manhua, changes that just ever so slightly between what it's presenting and what was originally written. These changes are not drastic. They're actually kind of fun to look at when you've already read the novel or when you've seen the animation, but there are some changes that exist in this book, which is kind of interesting. And in my opinion, kind of enriches the experience of reading this because it's a little different from what you've already been exposed to with Heaven Official's Blessing. So I actually kind of liked that experience and that ability to like learn something new or to experience a story I'm already in love with in a slightly different way. So again, I really think these enrich the experience after you've already either read the novels or watched the animation, okay? I really think that's important to do first. So anyways, love these. So far, star ranking, I would probably give this 3.5 stars if you've already read the book and you've already watched the animation. If you haven't, my guess is you're gonna put this at a low 3 because you're probably gonna be confused. This one I definitely rank higher. I would probably give this like a 3.8 to 4 stars. Really enjoyed this one, and I'm really, really excited to pick up book 3 when it comes out in November, and I'll let you know how that one goes when I get it. But overall, really love these. I also really wanna show off the full hardcover edition. We've got, like I said, this gorgeous art. I think this is just so beautiful. Under the dust jacket is this gorgeous red. I also love these characters. I am guessing that says Heaven Official's Blessing. I don't actually read Chinese Mandarin, but that's what I'm guessing it says. But it's so artistically beautiful. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. We have these lovely stained edges as well, which I will show you in a minute, I think are going to make a cohesive sprayed edge pattern across the books. But here's book 2. And again, we've got our gorgeous, I love him so much. So beautiful. An excellent addition. And again, Under the Dust Jacket looks very similar to book 1. So we have, you know, it's basically the same, slightly different. We've got a flower on the back instead of a butterfly, but still very similar. And then when I say these look like they're going to combine into a like full image, on this sprayed edge, you'll notice that this is just one butterfly and this looks like half of another. I wouldn't be surprised if it continues, but I wasn't 100% certain. And honestly, this kind of up here, I wasn't really sure what that was. So I couldn't tell, like, is this going to continue or is it not? But if you flip to the top, okay, now that looks a little bit more cohesive, especially since we have the full butterfly here right at the bottom. So my guess is that yes, these are going to continue with the beautiful sprayed edge art and probably continue in the order. Same with the hardcover for book 1. The art is actually going to extend this direction, and that's probably because these books were originally published in Chinese Mandarin. Same thing here. This is book 1, this is book 2. Book 3 is probably going to go here, and it's going to continue in that reverse order is my guess. I'll also say you might notice there looks like a color differentiation. It might seem like, that doesn't look like it was sprayed well. That just has to do with inside of the book, whether or not you have like black coming all the way to the edge or the parts where it's white coming to the edge. Okay, so it's not a problem with the spraying. It's actually just a reflection of how colorful or how dark the background color for that comic page is. So don't worry, this is a good quality. I think that wraps up kind of my experience with these comics. I really loved them overall. I thought they were really great. This was also really fun because I read these comics after reading the comic White Sand by Brandon Sanderson, and that comic ended up going way too slow and being really overwhelming and took me like over a week to read. It was too much, and I was like, oh, I need a break. And I was really excited to pick up these comics to see what's the difference going to be? I think this one took me like 2 hours to read. This one took me 1 hour to read. Very fast paced. I think overall for both of these, I'm guessing together they probably took me like 2-3 hours to read. Very, very fast read for these comics. Even though this one goes a little bit slower and this one's a little bit really fast paced, it's still a very smooth-ish comic reading experience. So definitely really enjoyed these. I definitely recommend if you already know Heaven Official's Blessing, if you've already watched the animation, or if you have read the novel, pick up this Manhua, pick up these web comics. I think you'll like them. I think you'll really like them, plus it's just additional art. In the meantime, I'm going to be continuing with book 2 in Heaven Official's Blessing, the novel. Keep reading what you love, and I will see you next time.